yo. Alright, we good. Yo! What's good, gang? It's me, man, your boy Key, man. I'm back with another reaction video. This video was requested by my boy Greg Messick. He told me to react to this MrBallen. I hope I got that shit right. MrBallen. Music executive attacked by Shadow Person. The Christopher K story. So, I reacted to a MrBallen video before. This shit was interesting. It was about, I think it was about this nigga and something. He found a box or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But if you haven't watched it, go watch that motherfucker. This shit was fire. I like his videos and his stories and shit. You know, in the way he, execute the story and the storytelling and all this shit. But let's get straight to it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. Comment down below what other videos you'd like to see me react to and turn on them post notifications, man. Without further ado, let's get to it.
On April 18th, 1999, police entered Christopher Case's apartment and they discovered his body. The coroner came in and was able to determine in relative short order that Christopher had died of natural causes. But when friends and family got a hold of the coroner's report, they turned to the police and they were like, wait, have you not heard what was happening to Chris in the week leading up to his death? And so police began interviewing the friends and family of Christopher Case, and they unraveled this totally insane story that to this day baffles investigators. Christopher Case predicted his own death. But before we get started, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do. And I upload at least 3 to 4 times a week. And I'm actually trying to get to 5 times a week. So I'm all in on this thing. And if that's what you're into, then please, if you would, gently slap the like button and then subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss any of those weekly uploads.
Turn on them bitches.
All right, let's get into the story.
It's not that hard. It's really like 3 clicks. Well, 4 if you feel like commenting. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into it though. I'm really curious on how a man is attacked by a shadow person. By shadow person, I'm assuming that means ghost.
By early 1999, Christopher Case was living his best life. He was 35 years old. He had moved out to Seattle to pursue a career in music, and he had landed a job at a music company in Seattle. And he had risen to the rank of executive at that company. He was incredibly fit. He was known for being at the gym 7 days a week. He took vitamins. He took his health very seriously.
He means he's very attractive. That's what
he had loads of friends. People really liked him. He was very close with his family. And, despite all that, despite his popularity and success, he had been single for years. And even though he was not actively seeking a companion, his friends and family were continuously trying to set him up on dates. But Chris would prefer to not go on a date and actually stay home by himself and listen to music, because Chris had an obsession with a very specific type of music. He loved music from ancient times, specifically from Egypt. And so he would stay home instead of go out on dates and crush ancient Egyptian music. That was like his idea of a great night. On April 11th of 1999, Chris was on a business trip because part of his job required a ton of travel. And he was on a trip with a couple of his co-workers who were also friends of his. They go out to San Francisco, and on the 11th, they decide to go out for dinner that night. And one of his co-workers decides to bring along a friend who was someone that lived in the area. So they get to dinner, and one of them has their friend, who's an older woman, very attractive, very kind of intense-looking woman. She was about 20 years older than Chris. That was his guess. And she sits down, and the 4 of them are just kind of having a nice conversation.
But y'all ever date somebody 20 years older than you? That's kind of crazy. I mean, but hey.
And at some point, the older woman really takes an interest in Chris. And Chris takes an interest in her because it would turn out that they had a lot in common. And then she actually admitted to him that she was really into music from ancient times and actually has a specific interest in music from ancient Egypt. And so to Chris, he's like, how can this be? And he's like, this is my passion. I love that type of music. and they
So he
really
like-
hit it off. Now, Chris was not looking for any sort of romantic involvement with this woman. He was just so excited to talk about something he loved. And so all night, Chris and this older woman are chatting it up, and they're super into each other. He was looking at her purely from a platonic sense, but it was becoming clear by the end of the night, at least Chris was realizing this, that she was looking at him with a romantic angle. She was interested in Chris. And in fact, right as he's kind of realizing this, she asks him if he wants to leave with her and go back to her place. And he politely declines because he's not interested. He loved chatting with her about music and other things they had in common.
But he don't really
But
know
he wasn't
much.
interested in her romantically.
Right.
And she became a little bit more aggressive and said, no, come on, let's get out of here. I got a place right down the road. We can go listen to music and hang out in my place. And he felt really uncomfortable, and he kept saying no, but she wouldn't let it go. And so finally, as she's literally trying to get him to say yes, he says, hey, you know what? I've had a long night. I'm going to go. And so he stands up to leave, and the woman goes from being very flirtatious and friendly to very angry at Chris. And she looks at him and kind of abruptly says to him,
Come on, bruh. Like he ain't be rude or no shit. Why you being rude to him? Some people just extra, bro. They had to be her first time getting rejected, bro. Cause I know what.
I'm actually.
Oh shit! Alright. I don't think that was meant to be scary, but god
she
damn.
looks at him and
This
kind
shit
of
loud as
abruptly
hell.
says to him,
I'm actually a witch, and I'm gonna put a curse on you. You're gonna be dead within a week.
I'm gonna put a spell on you.
okay. And he just leaves. So the next morning, on April 12th, Chris gets up and he heads to the airport and he flies back to Seattle. When he lands in Seattle, he calls his friend Sammy, who was one of his very close friends back when he lived on the East Coast. He just wanted to share this weird experience with a close friend, and so they're kind of laughing about the whole thing. Neither of them are taking the curse seriously at all. It was like,
Nigga like me, I would've took this shit serious. But I wouldn't know what to do. What would you do if you meet a new person and some shit, and they try to take you back to the crib and you like, nah, I'm straight, I'm good. And then they tell you that they finna put a spell on you and you gonna die in a week. I'd be scared as shit.
you really dodged a bullet. It's good you did not go home with her. So in good spirits, Chris hangs up the phone with Sammy, and for the next 24 hours, Chris would fall right back into his regular daily life in Seattle. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. But all that would change starting the night of April 13th, which would have been 48 hours after his encounter with this woman in San
it's 2
Francisco.
days.
So Chris lives alone. He doesn't have pets. And he gets into bed that night, and he's laying there, and before he falls asleep, he hears whispering coming from outside of his bedroom in the kitchen area, kind of near the front door.
No.
And he's thinking to himself, like, I didn't just hear whispering. What? No one's in here. What's going on? And he's hearing the whispering, and then it kind of stops. And before he gets up to investigate, he's like, oh.
Bro, I got a question, because I can imagine living by myself. Like, for the people who live by themselves, do y'all, like, be paranoid? I don't know. Or am I just a bitch?
Okay, I probably was just hearing things. That wasn't real. He's just kind of laying there trying to go to sleep, and then he hears it again. Except now it's not coming from the kitchen area. It's coming from a separate area in his apartment outside of the room he's in. And so now he's wondering, like, did someone sneak into my house? Like, is there a burglar in my house right now? And so he quietly gets out of his bed, and he walks over to his door, he opens it up, and he can still hear the whispering, and it's coming from, like, his laundry room a little ways away. But as soon as he opens the door and he pokes his head out, the whispering stops. And he's just standing there, like, looking around, like, hoping that there isn't anything in his apartment. And then out of the corner of his eye, near the front door, he sees something dash across his periphery. Like a shadowy figure basically darts across the room. And so he looks over, and
How does he get this information? Did Christopher drop like a Was he writing these shits in his journal or some shit? Cause how do people get information and shit like that? That's the only way I can see it. Because yeah, what the fuck? Had
He's
to like write a
immediately
journal or
afraid
some
that
shit.
it really is a burglar in his room. And as he's looking, he's turning the light on next to him. He's looking around, and he starts hearing the whispering again. And now it's coming from another section of his house. So he just starts turning on all the lights and looking around to try to like make sure no one's in his apartment. He's not even thinking about the whispering. He's just looking for this shadowy figure that he saw run past him.
Bro, I need ad block or some shit, but yeah.
So he's looking all over his apartment. All the lights are on. It's a small apartment. And as soon as he feels comfortable that the door's locked still, everything's locked, and there's nobody here, that's when he realizes that that whispering is still happening. And so he turns back around, and now the whispering's coming from his bedroom where he was. And so he walks over to his bedroom and looks inside, and he can't pinpoint the whispering. Like, he keeps hearing it and walking to wherever it's coming from,
But
and
it's
as soon
not
as
there.
he gets near it, the
Right,
whispering
it's there.
stops. And he's thinking to himself, like, am I dreaming?
Is
Is
I'm
this a dream?
dreaming?
Am I losing my mind? Did somebody slip me something like last night? Like, what's wrong with me? So he has this
Right.
horrible night where he's up all night chasing down whispers in his apartment that keep vanishing, and then seeing shadowy figures running around and lurking in corners, but he can't ever see them when he looks at them. And so the next morning on April 14th, when the sun comes up, he hasn't slept.
So
The
there's
first
3
phone
days.
call he makes is to Sammy, his friend. And he's totally panicked. And we know about this phone call because Sammy would tell police about all her interactions with Chris over the course of this week. She would say
Okay.
that he was totally panicked. And she even thought, as she's taking this phone call, that it's just so weird, that Chris is scared of noises
answer my
in his
question.
apartment and like figures moving around in his apartment, because it's so unlike Chris. He's definitely a skeptic. He's just like he's a no BS kind of guy. So the idea that he would suddenly be terrified of something
Right.
paranormal running around his apartment
Right.
just seems so unlike him. But as she's listening to him, he was so scared about what was in his apartment. He knew it wasn't a person because he looked everywhere. There was no people. And that's the only reason he didn't call the police, is because he didn't want to tell the police
Right,
that
that he
some
hearing
shadow
shit.
figure that's whispering in my apartment
think
is
that nigga
harassing me.
crazy.
Like, what are the police gonna do? So Sammy hangs up the phone with Chris after trying to reassure him and just hopes that whatever that was doesn't happen again. But unfortunately for Chris, the night of the 14th now, he's going to bed again, and he starts hearing the whispers, and immediately he's out there looking, lights on. He's looking for these whispers. They keep disappearing. He can't find the source. He's getting...
Bro, at that point, I'm gonna have to like go get a hotel or some shit, cause I'm gonna think my house haunted, bro. I would not stay there. That first night, I'm gone. Fuck that shit. Hey, y'all can have anything in that bitch. I'm gone, bro. I'm not finna, bro. Whispering, and and I don't see, I don't hear. I hear something, but I don't see it, and it stopped when I get close to it. Nigga,
Getting frustrated and
with this
scared.
shit,
He
boy.
keeps seeing that thing dart around his apartment. Except this night, he also noticed that he would look, and he could get close enough to where he could break out the silhouette of what looked like a person, like lingering in the corner of his apartment, but he'd go closer to it and it would disappear. It was like the manifestations of what he was seeing, the whispers and this figure running around his apartment, were becoming more vivid. But he's also thinking, like, I didn't sleep the night before. This could be my imagination. Like, I don't know if this is happening.
Bruh, it's been hella sleepless nights for me, nigga. If all of a sudden I start hearing shit and seeing shadows running, nigga, I know that it's not because I ain't getting no sleep. But I'm not finna judge, bruh. Cause he gone. R.P. Chris, bruh.
But he's spiraling, and he knows it. So the next day on the 15th, he doesn't call Sammy, but he calls a couple of his other friends that are anonymous, and they would all tell police that they got a similar story that Sammy had gotten that first night after the 14th. No matter what was happening, Chris believed it was happening, and Chris was terrified. But this wasn't even the worst of it yet. So that night on the 15th, Chris gets in bed, and now
His
he's barely
parents did.
slept for 2 consecutive nights. And he's determined to just go to sleep. That he's trying to tell himself that everything that you've experienced the past couple nights is probably brought on by stress. It's brought on by now certainly a lack of sleep. So he's telling himself, like, just go to sleep. Just get in bed and go to sleep. So he gets in bed and he's laying there and he does fall asleep. But he wakes up in the middle of the night and he can't move his body. He's paralyzed. He can't
my
move.
God, bro. Sleep paralysis is the fucking worst, bro. I remember this one time I had sleep paralysis at school. And nigga was laying down on a desk like these, right? In math class, bro, cause I was tired. You know, everybody went to sleep at school. So I'm in that joint. My friends and them, they playing board games and shit. I think they was playing checkers or some shit. And I was there, you know what I'm saying, laying down like this. I don't know how I fell asleep like this, but my eyes was like this type shit. So I'm asleep, and then I woke up, you know what I'm saying, like woke up like these, right? And my friend, he looking at me, like he saw me open my eyes, and he looking at me, and I'm just like, cause I couldn't move, I couldn't talk or no shit. I couldn't move or talk. So I'm like, bro, can you like wake me up or some shit, bro? I was stuck like that for like 5 minutes straight. My heart was racing and shit, cause I'm like, why can't I talk? I don't know what sleep paralysis is, and why does it happen, and how does it happen, but fuck that shit.
He's totally awake, and he starts hearing whispering, and now his level of fear is so high because now he's immobile. But the past 2 nights he's heard that whispering in his apartment, and he's seen that figure moving around his apartment. And so he's laying there in darkness because he went to bed in darkness, and he starts hearing whispering outside his room, and then it stops. And then he starts hearing whispering inside of his closet, and then it stops. And then he hears whispering right underneath his bed.
Hey, yo.
And he's just laying there praying that nothing horrible is going to happen to him.
I'm
That
scared.
this is just a dream. And then out from underneath his bed, right next to him, he can only turn his eyes. This black figure, this shadowy black figure emerges right next to his bed.
This doesn't scare me because I look like this in the dark. So if I saw this, I'd probably think it was my little cousin or something. Nah, I'd be scared of shit.
And it's looking down at him. He can't make out any facial expressions, but he can clearly define.
But if I'm in that position, bro, if I see something big and black staring at me and I can't move, I'm gonna just close my eyes and accept death, bro, at that point. Because what else could you do?
You know, a figure is hovering over him, and it reaches down and puts its hands around his neck and begins to throttle him. And Chris is like gagging, he can't breathe, but he can't move, and at some point the thing begins to lift him off of his bed by his neck.
Boy, hell
and
nah.
then throws him back down, and then the figure vanishes. Chris still couldn't move. He's choking to breathe, but he can't move, and he's just waiting for this thing to come back. And he knows that more than likely, whatever this is probably going to kill him this night. So he's laying there just thinking, oh my god, I'm about to die. I'm
Yep,
about
just
to die.
accept the shit,
But
bro.
the thing doesn't come back, and Chris can't move. And at some point, Chris, probably out of just pure, adrenaline crash or something, he falls asleep. And so when Chris wakes up and he can move again, he notices there's blood inside of his bed on his sheets. And then he looks at his hands,
fuck?
and at the tips of all 10 fingers are these incisions, like someone had intentionally cut open the top of every finger. Something he certainly
hell nah.
And his bed is covered in blood from these 10 cuts on his hands.
What the
And then he feels
fuck?
his neck, and it feels tender. And it turns out he had marks on his neck. It was all bruised up from this thing choking him out. And it brought him back to like, that really happened. He's now like actually in fear for his life.
Okay, what
Chris
he gonna do, bro?
immediately calls Sammy and tells Sammy everything that happened. And Sammy can't believe any of it. She felt helpless because she's
Man,
on the
take
other side of the
pictures or
country.
something.
She can't help him. And Chris is just petrified. And he's like, he can barely speak, he's like unable to articulate what's happening.
Damn.
He's describing these cuts on his hand and his neck, but there's no one in his apartment. And Sammy's trying to get him to call the police, but Chris is like, I can't call the police. What am I gonna tell him?
Yeah, what they gonna
That
do?
a shadowy figure is coming in my apartment and just choking me? They're gonna think I'm crazy. Chris decides he's gonna approach this head on. maybe that woman in San Francisco did put some curse on me.
Okay.
I need to go at least research it.
Okay.
And so there was a religious bookstore right near his house that he figured might have some things on demonic possession and demons, the occult. And he goes in there and he kind of awkwardly approaches the store owner and is like, I'm looking for, books about demons and witchcraft and how to protect yourself against that. And the guy points him towards a section of the store. And so Chris goes over there, he scoops up a whole bunch of books. He also buys like a whole bundle of crucifixes. So like at least 10. So he's got all these crucifixes, he's got all these books about demonic possession and witchcraft. He buys all of that and he leaves and goes back to his apartment. When he gets back, after doing some research, he ends up putting these crucifixes all over his apartment, like every room. And he takes salt and he draws a line all through his apartment against the baseboard of every wall in the house. And at every corner of the house, he'd pile up little piles of
salt. Where
salt.
do you get this
He was going to
information
do
from?
all the things that people say to do if you're dealing with demons or ghosts or anything through witchcraft. He was kind of grasping at straws a little bit. So he went out and did everything he thought he could possibly do to protect himself.
Right.
That night, which was April 16th, we don't know what happened to Chris. But something scared him so badly that in the middle of the night, in a full panic, he runs out of his apartment and he checks into a hotel and does not stay at his apartment.
Finally. Should have did that the first night, my boy.
The next morning, April 17th, when Sammy called Chris to check on him. Now remember, this is 1999. There was just landline phones.
Damn.
So she calls his landline at his apartment to check on him.
1999, I wouldn't know what to do. Shit. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do. Yeah.
There's no answer because he's not there. He's at the hotel. And Sammy, who's been speaking to Chris, and other friends that have been speaking to Chris, and everyone's concerned about his mental health and what's going on with him, when she doesn't get Chris to pick up his phone, she calls the police. And she says, hey.
But, man, I don't know. You can't... Where I grew up from, it's really not the best move to live in a place where where no one else, like, no other family member or friends can't reach you or come see you. Like this not the right move. So I would never like move to fucking Washington if my folks stay in Florida type shit. Like if I know no one stays in that area, I'm not finna know, cause you never know what could happen. So prime example right here. If he had family members, he could have stayed with them and they could have saw the shit that was happening, could have helped, could have did something.
Hey, I'm concerned about my friend. Can you do a welfare check on this guy? And they go over to his apartment and it's locked. And they kind of look in the windows and everything just seems kind of quiet. And so they leave and they tell Sammy, like, hey, look, it's locked. We can't really do anything. Let us know if you don't hear from him in the next couple of days. And so that was it. And so Sammy's like super concerned. And so she goes to work on the 17th. And then when she gets back, she has a voicemail from Chris, who had called her at some point during the day while she was out. And on the voicemail, Chris tells her in a voice that was different than the past few days. The past few days, he was scared. He was really scared.
Right.
This time, he is defeated. He was like resigned to whatever was going on. And he says to Sammy on the voicemail, he's under attack. And that tonight, they're going to kill me. And there's nothing I can do. As soon as she's done listening to the message, Sammy calls Chris, but she can't get in touch with him. She knows she just talked to the police who were there at his apartment that day. They're probably just going to tell her, like, hey, wait until tomorrow. We just told you, earlier, just give it a couple days. And so she just decides that she's going to go to bed and she's going to try calling him again on April 18th. On the morning of April 18th, Chris didn't show up for work. And word got back to Sammy, who was already going to reach out to Chris that morning anyways. But, the friends and family are talking about what's going on with Chris. And so word got back to her that Chris had missed work. And so she calls Chris. He's not picking up from his landline. And now she calls the police back and she says, hey, you were there yesterday. I know it was locked, but he hasn't shown up for work today. Everybody's concerned about him. Can you please go over and check? And so the police go back over to Chris's apartment, and this time the front door is unlocked. They go inside and they're met with this very strange scene. You know, you have all these crucifixes that are on the wall.
Right.
You have the salt that lines every room in the house. There are all these candles that have burned down to the wick. There are little scraps of paper all over the apartment that were handwritten, little messages that Chris was leaving all over the house, warding off spirits and demons. I mean, it just looked like out of a Hollywood set for some demonic movie or something. And they search the house and there's no sign of Chris. They're yelling for him. There's no sign of him. And they make their way into the bathroom where they discover Chris's body. Chris was in his bathtub. No water in the bathtub. He's fully clothed. There's all these candles all around the outside of this bathtub.
Damn.
There's, you know, more crucifixes and weird relics that are in the bathroom with him. And he's on his knees and he's slouched up against the wall with his hands kind of tucked against his chest. He had no external injuries. He was just dead. And so the police take Chris's body and the coroner comes in and does a report, and it comes out that Chris died of natural causes. He died of a heart attack. And so when friends and family saw that that was his cause of death, they didn't buy it. They were like, I don't know how to describe what happened to him. But over the past 7 days, Chris went from this happy, healthy, successful guy to a complete raving paranoid lunatic.
Just because
And
he don't
no
want
one
to come
knows.
to your crib, you killed the nigga? Bro, what happened to the lady, bro? Did they ever figure out who did it?
You know, it's certainly possible
They
that
did,
it
it's
was just a very
fucked up.
poorly timed heart attack, you know, mixed in with someone having a psychotic break. Or some people say that he really was cursed by that woman in San Francisco, and that was the result. I mean, she said, you're going to die within the week, and he literally died within the week. And he described regularly over the phone to his friends and family as this was happening, these horrible experiences at night with these shadow beings in his room and it attacking him. I mean, it's just this crazy story that to this day leaves friends, family, and investigators baffled. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you think happened to Christopher Case. Was this a natural death, or was this something else?
Man,
Let me know in the
fuck no,
comments.
this
I'll do
one
my
not
best to
natural.
go through and respond to as many as I possibly can. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this one,
Man, they want no fucking natural death. Man, couldn't be. All these crosses. Let's see. Are you sure it wasn't in 1991? I'm pretty sure it was 91. Keep up the good work. The worst part about all of this is after Chris tells all his friends about what was happening to him, they did absolutely nothing. Like, damn. Like, he calls them, tells them what's going on, and they go to bed and check on him tomorrow. A friend of mine said that they was attacked, like, shadow figure. I'm going over their house, camp, bedroom for real, bruh. Make sure, okay. Also, this supposed witch was a friend of a friend. Dang, for real. That's crazy. Chris or nobody else try to contact the woman after. Chris or nobody else tried to contact this woman after the stuff started happening to Chris. I feel sorry for him. No, not one single friend or family did anything to help him. I don't know if they was in the same, area, but if they were and they did shit to help this man, but it's fucked up. It's fucked up. Well, this is gonna wrap it up for this video, man. Sad, tragic story. But this fucked up his family and friends. I need want to help them. Man, that's crazy, bro. This gonna wrap it up, man. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, comment button. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, comment down below what other videos you'd like to see me react to. Turn on them post notifications. And yeah, comment down below what other videos your video might be next. You never know, man. But I'm out. Bro, that fucking witch scene scared the fuck out of me, boy.